hope you all are having a blessed day. We are here to introduce a brandy new series. Stop it, Dink. We are here to introduce a brand new series. I am going to be starting a 1930s fabric floral block series. And we're going to start today with the very first block. And I wanted to let you all know what 1930s fabrics are in case you don't know what they are. If you're new to quilting, or if you're younger than, say, 30 or 40 years, you may not know anything about it. These are the types of fabric that was popular in the 1930s. And the reason that it was popular is because produce manufacturers, those people that made flour, corn, sugar, coffee, grits, chicken feed, animal feed, they would all use a decorated fabric on their products or to contain their products that women, who primarily were the ones buying all these things, would fall in love with and therefore buy their product, as opposed to somebody who was packaging their flour in plain cotton sacks. If you used a printed sack, like some of these, it would be more attractive to the consumer. I have a video that I'm going to link in the description box below of this series that will tell you how this all came about. And it actually happened prior to the 1930s, but it's iconically remembered as being 1930s fabrics because of the Great Depression. And people who came up with this category of fabrics decided that, being that it was the Great Depression, people were reduced to living in flour sacks. And therefore, that's why they got called the 1930s series of fabrics. So come along and join me in this new series, and I hope you all have a lot of fun. Hello there, YouTube. I hope you all are having a blessed day. It is a beautiful day here on the mountain. It is in the low 60s. Partly cloudy and slightly breezy, so it's just a beautiful day. God is good. We are here with our next little project, and it is featuring 30s fabrics, some of my very favorites. I have been collecting 30s fabrics since forever, I guess you could say. Years and years ago, 20 to 25 years ago, I signed up for the Keepsake Quilting Medley of the Month, and I signed up for the 30s. I also signed up for the boutiques. So I have been stashing piles and piles and piles of 30s fabric for years. I stopped getting them probably in 2003 or 4, so I have amassed quite a pile. So we're going to be using 1930s fabrics. I'm very excited because they're some of my very favorites. I have a sample block here, and I'll show it to you. There it is. Unfinished. It's 8.5 inches. It will finish out at 8 inch, and it's done. It's a 4-patch. So each 4-patch, your petal fabric needs to be 4.5 inches square. And then your background fabrics, you need 2 pieces for each square, and they measure 2.5 inches unfinished. And then the center of your petal measures 1.5 inch square, and you will need 4 of those squares. So I will take you over to the cutting table and we will get started. This is just a small collection that I grabbed from my studio. Oh gosh, they just keep going and going and going. Some of them are still in the plastic bags that I never opened. Let's see. Just look at them kitties. Maybe we'll use that one next. Yes, this was the Keepsake Quilting circa 1930s Medley of the Month, and I absolutely loved it. Use that one. Now let's see, we need background. Oh, isn't that pretty? I think I will use a different color background. And yes, all right, so this is actually from Yardage, and we'll use this as our flower center. So if you are cutting these blocks from fat quarters, you want to cut a strip from this end. You want to cut a 4.5-inch strip off of here, and that will give you your 4 blocks that you need. So I'm just going to quickly give this a quick press. So again, we're going to cut a strip off of the long edge, the 21-inch edge, and if it's crooked, straighten it out before you start. And yes, this is crooked, so I'm going to be lining up the bottom edge. 4.5 inches is what we need. 4.5 inches square, and we need 4 of them. Okay, so this is what's left over. That's good. Don't toss that one out. There's our 4 petals. And now we need our background squares. This is yardage, not a fat quarter. But again, you need 2.5-inch squares. So for those, and you need 8 of them, you'll want to cut from the long edge. So from the fat quarter on the 21-inch side, you would cut off a strip that's 2.5 inches wide. And now we can stack them. 8. So that's what we need there. And you have a little excess here. And again, this is from yardage. But this you could cut from the short side if you're using fat quarters. And we're going to cut a 1.5-inch strip off of here. And see, that happens. I don't know if that ever happens to you, but it happens to me quite frequently, and I don't know why. My brain just decides to go sideways. Alright, so now we're cutting these into 1.5-inch squares, and you can cut as many as you like and keep using them. If you want to pick out some of your favorites for your centers, you can do that and just cut up a whole pile of them and have them sitting there waiting for you. That is everything that we need. So now we'll go sit down over at the sewing machine and we'll get started. Alright, I have the standard foot pedal that comes with the machine. This is my 1/4-inch foot. You can see it has a plow on it right down here on the side. We'll be using that in a little bit. So we're starting with our first pedal, and we will need 2 of these squares. I'm using my 1/4-inch tape here, and I'm going to be sewing just a hair to the right of the corner to corner, okay? Just a hair. Because when you flip it over, the width of your stitch, of your seam, can cause this piece to not quite cover the corner. So I'm going just a hair to the right. Okay, so I'm making sure that this corner is hanging out just slightly to the left of this line. Okay, that's the first one. And now we're going to do that again. And I'll zoom in on the last one to show you where I'm keeping my corner. That the very point of the corner is on the left edge of the red line. And that is where I'm keeping it. Okay, so that is the first go round. See, this one is just shy of the corner. There is about a 1/16 of an inch. So you can see that there's a little bit of white coming up. So for that, I'm going to show you, I'm basically going to just take out this piece and move the seam over a few threads. And there's nothing to get upset about, just take care of it. And I have the original line here that I can see. And I'll take this one out and show it to you. So I can just see the old seam line. So this has got moved over just a hair, and that's all you need. And now it is covering corner enough. Okay, so that's the first one. Here's the second one. Okay, there's that. And now we're going to take the next piece. They go on the same side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off, leaving a 1/4 inch, and I'm going to use these corners for another project. So don't waste them. That you need your 1/4 inch foot. So put that aside. Now you can have a small cutting board and rotary cutter sitting here right next to you if you like. You set up your sewing station however is more comfortable for you. Okay, here's the last one. You can use your add a quarter ruler also to trim this even. I find this to be just fine, good enough for government work, and I was a government worker for many years. And let's just check and make sure there's no glaring issues with them before I cut them. That one is fine. Yeah, that's good. After a while, you can pretty much eyeball a 1/4 inch accurately. And we can run these through. And you'll have to trim these down, but they'll be good to use. You could use them as, you could make cornerstone pinwheels here. If you wanted to do a sashing in between your blocks, you could use these as cornerstones. Just sew 4 of them together and you'll have a pinwheel. Okay, right now I'll take them over to the machine, the iron with me. Okay, and now we are going to orient the blocks in this direction, and we're going to put our centers here, and we're going to sew corner to corner. Okay, and our last one. Alrighty, I will go iron these and I'll come back. Okay, public service announcement. Be careful with your rotary cutter. Rotary cutter 1, Melissa 0. Okay, so here we have our 4 petals, and they go together like so. Them over. Okay, so that is how they go together, and you can put this seam, you can put 2 of the seams going away from the center and 2 towards the center, and they will nest. Okay, sorry, my camera decided to disconnect. Okay, and you're going to fold 1 seam and finger press 1 way, and so that seam went up, so this seam is going to go down. Okay, so we're just going to nest those seams in the center. Okay, so here is our next block. I'm going to take it over to the ironing board. I'm going to give it a good press, and I'm going to trim it down to 8.5 inch. Okay, so here is our trimmed up block. It is 8.5 inches, and I think they're going to look adorable together, our 2 blocks. And I just think that these are absolutely darling, and I think it's going to make a really cute quilt. So here are our lovely blocks. I had fun making them. I think they're absolutely darling, and I can't wait to see the whole big stack of them. I'm thinking that I will probably go towards a baby quilt size, because I just think that these 30s prints just look so sweet in baby quilts. So the blocks are 8.5 inch unfinished. They'll be 8 inch finished. So I think if we did 5 blocks across by 7 blocks down, that would make it a nice baby quilt size. I'm also thinking of possibly adding some sashing to them, and if I do that, it will be a thin sashing. I think something 1.5 inches wide would be as wide as I would go if I do add the sashing. And for the borders, we can use those extra triangles that we have, and we can do cornerstones in them, or we can find some other use or another project for those little tiny triangles, but they're too big to waste. So I want to thank you all so very much for watching today. I appreciate so much you taking your time to watch my silly little videos. On that note, I'm going to get out of here, and I will be back when I have more of this quilt to show you. I will bring you back when I have all the blocks done, and then we can put the quilt top together. Until that time, and until my next project, I want to thank you all so much for watching. Your comments just make my day. They just lift my spirits, and they just make me feel so loved. So thanks ever so much for that. I will see you back here at 70 Acre Studio for our next project. So thanks again for watching. Take care of yourselves, and God bless.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy.